let's take a look first at the CMS competition and why that's important to you, because if you were saddled with one WordPress or saddled with Joomla or Drupal or something else, there is a little bit of context to understand of why we're talking today about WordPress and why this isn't about Drupal or Joomla. In this three-way cage fight of CMS are the three players: Joomla, Drupal, and WordPress. And if we looked at each one of them, we would see that Drupal is the one that really requires really great technical expertise from an operator level, from an administration level, from an editing level. It's going to take a lot more behind the scenes when the person logs into that dashboard. It was built this way because it was also engineered to handle large, complex data sets. It's really tremendously good and its sweet spot was always high count SKU e-commerce sites. Very well built for that. And also community sites, where people share information and there are forums and things like that. One of the things about Drupal is you need to commit to the software. It takes a lot of learning, or somebody needs to be very expert with it on a regular basis. So one way or another, there's going to be some money spent and time spent to a very high degree. On the other hand, we have Joomla, which is less complex than Drupal. It is more complex in terms of its options than WordPress, and it doesn't have the same popularity for many of the same reasons. You need to do a lot of the customizing yourself when you have a Joomla website. There's a lot that has to be brought in from a developer standpoint. The big attraction for WordPress is, wow, I can get a website right out of the box. That is the theory. It was originally intended to be a community platform. They thought they were going to steal that away from Drupal, and they did in a certain way. And then there's WordPress, which promises a lower level of technical experience to produce and edit content. It comes with a but, and we'll talk about the caveats later. It does have a more intuitive interface. I related to somebody earlier that when I talk with people who've never used it before, I always ask them, have you ever posted something on eBay? Because if they post it on eBay, they're one step in towards getting closer to a WordPress type environment for an editing user. It is powerful to build with. Unlike the 2011 version of WordPress, we're now at WordPress, I think we're at 3.30, was released last week, and or in the last month, and it really gives a lot of power to people that don't have all the technology if it's set up correctly. So it's well positioned for sites that originally were going to be blogs, and it's gone well beyond that now. And there are a lot of e-commerce options that are available now and much more sophisticated than they've ever been, and there are a lot of people who use it. In terms of who's using WordPress, these are numbers you may already be aware of. 53% of the top million by traffic sites around the world use WordPress, and versus the next contender. The drop is so sharp, from 53 down to 6. These numbers may vary from, as we go into 2011, 2012, but they're not going to vary a lot, and that's because of so much development being done around WordPress. And in the world of the CMS websites, content management driven websites, that's a 53% mark. In terms of every website in the world, CMS, non-CMS, 24%, a quarter of them, and that number varies depending on who's doing the counting and what month it is, they use WordPress. So it is highly functional. And it doesn't just work for small little, people posting pictures of cats or blog recipes and things like that, as I want to do, or pictures of food, which tends to be one of my things. But as you'll see, there are a lot of very serious players who use it as a platform for corporate communications, even for sales, definitely for ongoing communications, magazine use, and publications. So when you're working with WordPress, you're in good company.